The city buzzed with the harsh, metallic hum of daytime traffic, but inside the 27th floor office of Zenith Towers, Adrian Cole moved silently among the cubicles, mop in hand. The smell of disinfectant, mixed with leftover coffee, lingered in the air as he methodically cleaned the glossy floors, his uniform damp from the small bursts of air conditioning spray. He had learned to move unnoticed, to blend into the background, because in a world that cared little for men like him, visibility could be dangerous. Adrian was 33, a single father who had spent the last 6 years balancing survival with parenting, scraping together enough money to pay rent and provide for his bright-eyed daughter, Sophie, whose laughter was the only light in his otherwise grey existence. He thought about her constantly, the way her small hands clutched his during thunderstorms, the way she would ask about every little thing he did, and the hope he nurtured that someday their lives would feel lighter. Before diving deeper into the story, if you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Deep Night Stories. That day had started like any other. Adrian had risen at dawn, kissed Sophie on the forehead, and hurried to his first job at a grocery warehouse. He had returned to Zenith Towers by midday, slipping quietly through the security gates as if he had done nothing more than breathe. But today, the usual hum of office machinery was interrupted by an unusual sound, a soft, stumbling shuffle from the executive lounge. Curious, and perhaps guided by instinct, Adrian approached the doorway. There she was, Selene Hart, 35, the CEO of Hartwell Enterprises, sprawled across her high-backed leather chair, her designer heels kicked to the side, hair a cascade of untamed chestnut waves, and a half-empty glass of wine tipped precariously on the mahogany table. Her normally pristine suit was slightly rumpled, her cheeks flushed pink with intoxication. Adrian hesitated. This was not a moment he was meant to witness. He could have retreated silently, let the world continue without interference. But when she murmured, almost to herself, I can't even remember how it all got here," something inside him shifted. Compassion, maybe, or the recognition of sheer human vulnerability. Stepping forward, he offered her a steadying hand. Her gaze, unfocused at first, landed on him, and for a moment the world narrowed to two people in a large, indifferent office. The city outside glistened with the reflection of a late winter sun bouncing off wet sidewalks. But in that moment, time seemed suspended. She leaned against him, fragile and trusting, and for reasons neither of them fully understood. The night unfolded in a way neither expected. They were two strangers from worlds apart, seeking solace in shared loneliness, and for a few hours they found it in each other. Morning was merciless. They found it in each other. Selene woke to the harsh clarity of her office's fluorescent lights, the taste of wine still faintly on her tongue. The CEO of a multi-million-dollar company could not afford mistakes like these. Yet, as she blinked away the fog of the night, she remembered Adrian, the quiet strength in his brown eyes, the rough warmth of his hand, the patient way he had helped her when no one else could. Panic threatened to overwhelm her. Her image, carefully cultivated over years, could crumble with the wrong rumor or misplaced glance. And yet she found herself longing to see him again, to somehow hold on to the human connection that had saved her from herself for just one night. Adrian, meanwhile, returned to the familiar monotony of his duties, the mop swinging rhythmically across the polished floor. Yet the memory of her lingered like sunlight breaking through clouds. Life, which had been a sequence of mundane tasks and anxious calculations, suddenly felt heavier and lighter all at once. Days passed, and subtle gestures began to punctuate Adrian's routine. Anonymous deliveries of groceries, handwritten notes of encouragement, and small tokens of kindness arrived at his apartment. At first, he assumed someone had mistakenly sent them, but the handwriting, careful and precise, told a different story. Selene was reaching out, quietly, discreetly, without drawing attention, attempting to repair the invisible connection between two disparate lives. The struggles of Adrian's life did not vanish. Sophie's school fees loomed, his apartment ceiling leaked whenever it rained, and his exhaustion threatened to spill over into despair. But with each note, each small gesture, he began to feel the faint stirrings of hope. And then Selene began showing up more openly, not as the untouchable CEO, but as a woman willing to step out of the polished boardroom into the raw texture of his world. She asked about his day, offered advice on minor work matters, and sometimes they simply sat in silence together, letting the unspoken understanding of shared loneliness and mutual respect fill the room. The turning point came unexpectedly. A package appeared at Adrian's doorstep, simple, unassuming, yet carrying immense weight. Inside was a key and a note that read, "Use this when you're ready. Not a favor, but an opportunity." The key opened a small, comfortable apartment, paid in full save from the persistent leaks and dim lighting of his current space. It wasn't charity. It was an acknowledgement of his dignity, a gesture that told him, perhaps for the first time in years, that the world had room for people like him, that human connection could translate into tangible change. With the quiet support of Selene, Adrian's life began to shift. He could focus on work without the constant fear of falling behind. Sophie's laughter returned to its natural, unburdened rhythm, and the bonds they had forged grew steadily stronger. They discovered moments of shared vulnerability. A rainy afternoon in the city, where Selene confessed her constant pressure to maintain an image, Adrian speaking candidly about nights spent counting coins and wondering if he could pay the next bill. Each story, each revelation, deepened their connection until their relationship, born of one impulsive night, grew into a foundation built on respect, trust, and mutual care. Yet life remained unpredictable. Selene's world was unforgiving. A rival executive sensed her vulnerability, maneuvering behind closed doors, threatening both her career and the stability she had begun to find with Adrian. One tense afternoon, the boardroom became a crucible. Selene had to choose between compliance with a morally dubious demand or standing firm, risking the loss of her positio. Narrate. Adrian's presence outside the room was both grounding and silent encouragement. The man who had spent nights scrubbing floors now watched a woman fight battles not unlike those he faced daily, though theirs manifested in suits and spreadsheets rather than mop buckets and dusters. The climax arrived quietly, almost imperceptibly. Selene chose integrity. She confronted the executive, refused to compromise her principles, and faced the ensuing fallout with courage. Humiliation and criticism followed, yet in its wake emerged a profound truth. Authenticity mattered more than superficial approval, and true strength arose from doing what was right, even when the world opposed it. Adrian, witnessing her bravery, felt a deep swell of pride, admiration, and love. He realized that their lives had intersected for a reason, that one night of vulnerability had blossomed into a shared journey of courage and transformation. In the weeks that followed, both their worlds adjusted. Selene's reputation, though bruised, remained intact. People respected her for her choices, rather than fearing her influence. Adrian's life became more stable, but more importantly, more vibrant. Sophie ran through their apartment laughing, unhindered by the weight of financial strain. and neighbors began noticing the quiet dignity of a single father who refused to surrender to hardship. And yet, their story was not a fairy tale. Challenges remained, doubts lingered, and the unpredictability of life continued to shape their days. But the shared resilience, the trust, the bond that had emerged from a fleeting night of human connection, transformed ordinary struggles into extraordinary triumphs. They had discovered something far more valuable than wealth or status: compassion, authenticity, and the courage to embrace second chances. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in the power of human connection, please engage with this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support allows these stories of hope, courage, and second chances to reach those who need them most. Tonight, let us remember and honor those who quietly persevere, who fight for their children, their dreams, and for acts of kindness that ripple far beyond what they can see. Adrian and Selene's story reminds us all. Even a single night, a fleeting connection, can spark a lifetime of transformation.